Listen up, Mom. I need you to prepare $3 million by the end of the month. Oh, and while you're at it, how about making lunch boxes for us every day? If you don't like it, well, I guess you won't be seeing Abigail anymore. The luxurious living room of the Harrington mansion fell silent as Ethan's voice cut through the air like a knife. His cold eyes bore into Judy, his words dripping with entitlement and barely veiled threats. The once doting son now stood before her as a stranger, a man consumed by greed and selfishness. Judy felt her heart constrict, her mind reeling from the audacity of her son's demands. How had it come to this? The little boy she had raised with love and care was now using her own granddaughter as leverage against her. As Ethan's words hung in the air, heavy with implication, Judy realized that this moment marked a turning point. The life she had known, the family she had cherished, was about to change irrevocably. Little did Ethan know, his callous ultimatum would be the catalyst for a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the Harrington family legacy. Judy's eyes hardened, a flicker of determination igniting behind her weathered gaze. She straightened her posture, her voice steady and resolute. Ethan, my dear, you seem to have forgotten who I am. I built an empire from nothing, faced countless challenges, and came out stronger each time. Do you really think your petty threats can break me? You have no idea what I'm capable of when pushed too far. She paused, her words hanging in the air like a gathering storm. Remember, son, the Harrington legacy isn't just about money. It's about integrity, resilience, and justice. And I will ensure that legacy continues, with or without you. Judy's fingers brushed against the locket around her neck, a gift from her late husband. Your father would be so disappointed to see what you've become, but don't worry, I'll set things right. You've awakened a side of me you've never seen before, and you'll soon learn that crossing me was your biggest mistake. Her voice dropped to a whisper, laden with promise and warning. Watch closely, Ethan. The game has just begun, and you're about to learn why I've always been the one holding the cards. The following week brought no respite for Judy. Each day, she found herself in the kitchen at dawn, preparing elaborate lunchboxes for Ethan, Tiffany, and the girls. Her hands, once steady at the helm of a multi-million-dollar company, now trembled as she carefully arranged sushi rolls and cut sandwiches into heart shapes. One morning, as Judy was putting the finishing touches on the day's lunches, she heard the front door open. Ethan's voice, loud and irritated, echoed through the house. Mom, where are you? The lunches better be ready. Judy took a deep breath, steeling herself for the encounter. In the kitchen, Ethan. The lunches are almost done. Ethan stormed into the kitchen, his eyes critically scanning the spread on the counter. What's this? Sushi again. I told you Tiffany doesn't like raw fish. And where are the organic juice boxes I asked for? Judy's heart sank. She had spent hours on these lunches, trying to meet every exacting demand. I'm sorry, Ethan. I thought I'd try something new with the vegetarian sushi rolls. And the store was out of the organic juice boxes you wanted. Ethan's face darkened with anger. Not good enough, Mom. Do I need to remind you what's at stake here? Or should I call Abigail and tell her grandma doesn't want to see her anymore? Judy felt a surge of anger, quickly suppressed. She couldn't risk antagonizing Ethan further. No, I'll fix it. Just give me a few minutes. Ethan checked his watch impatiently. You have 10 minutes, and don't forget, I need you to sign those papers I left on your desk yesterday. With that, he turned and left the kitchen. Judy's mind raced. Papers? What papers? She hurried to her study, lunch preparations momentarily forgotten. On her desk, she found a thick stack of legal documents. As she skimmed through them, her blood ran cold. These weren't just any papers. They were transfer of ownership documents for significant portions of her company shares. Judy's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. If she signed these, she would be giving Ethan controlling interest in Harrington Tech Innovations. Everything she had worked for, everything she had built, would be in his hands. She was still staring at the documents in disbelief when Ethan reappeared in the doorway. "Oh good, you found them. Just need your signature on the highlighted lines, all of them." Judy looked up at her son, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Ethan, this is too much. You're asking me to sign over my life's work. I can't do that." Ethan's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Can't or won't? Remember our deal, Mom. You do what I say, or you never see Abigail again. It's that simple." Judy felt trapped, cornered like an animal. She had to find a way out of this, but how? "Ethan, please, let's talk about this. There must be another way. Maybe I could give you a position in the company instead." Ethan laughed, a cold, humorless sound that sent chills down Judy's spine. "A position, please. I don't want to work for the company, Mom. I want to own it. Now sign the papers." He thrust a pen into her hand. Judy stared at it, feeling as if it weighed a ton. "I need time to think about this, to talk to my lawyers." Ethan's face contorted with rage. "Time, lawyers. No, Mom, you sign now, or I make that call to Abigail, your choice." Judy's mind raced, searching for a way out. But with Abigail's future hanging in the balance, she saw no alternative. With a heavy heart, she put pen to paper and began to sign. As she scrawled her signature on line after line, Judy felt as if she was signing away pieces of her soul. Each signature was another nail in the coffin of the empire she had built, the legacy she had hoped to leave behind. Ethan watched with a smug smile, his eyes glittering with triumph. "There, was that so hard? Don't worry, Mom, I'll take good care of your precious company." As he gathered up the signed documents, Judy felt a wave of nausea wash over her. What had she done? "Oh, and don't forget about those lunches. 10 minutes are almost up." With that parting shot, he left the study, leaving Judy alone with her regrets and the ticking clock. The rest of the day passed in a blur for Judy. She went through the motions of her daily routine, but her mind was elsewhere, grappling with the magnitude of what she had just done. As evening fell, she found herself sitting in her darkened study, a glass of untouched whiskey in her hand. The ringing of her phone startled her out of her reverie. It was Cheyenne, Tiffany's daughter. "Judy, are you there? I need your help." The tremor in Cheyenne's voice immediately put Judy on alert. "Cheyenne, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Cheyenne's voice was barely above a whisper. "It's Ethan. He tried to come into my room last night. I think he was drunk. I'm scared, Judy. I don't know what to do." Judy felt her blood run cold. She had suspected Ethan's inappropriate interest in Cheyenne, but to hear it confirmed. "Oh, Cheyenne, I'm so sorry. Where are you now? Are you safe?" "I'm at a friend's house. I told Mom I was staying over for a study group." "But Judy, I can't go back there. Not with him in the house." Judy's mind raced. She had to protect Cheyenne. But how, if she confronted Ethan, he might make good on his threats about Abigail? And now that he had control of the company, he held even more power over her. "Okay, Cheyenne, listen to me. Stay where you are for now. I'm going to figure something out. I promise I won't let him hurt you." As she ended the call, Judy felt a newfound resolve coursing through her. She had been backed into a corner, forced to compromise her values and give up her life's work. But this was a line she would not allow Ethan to cross. For the first time in weeks, Judy felt the stirrings of a plan forming in her mind. It would be risky, and it might cost her everything. But as she thought of Cheyenne's fear, of Abigail's innocence, she knew she had no choice. It was time to fight back. The next morning, Judy woke with a sense of dread weighing heavily on her chest. She had tossed and turned all night, her mind racing with worry for Cheyenne and plans for her next move. As she made her way downstairs, she was surprised to find Ethan already in the kitchen, a smug smile on his face. "Good morning, Mother. I trust you slept well." Judy forced a neutral expression onto her face, determined not to let Ethan see her distress. "Good morning, Ethan. You're up early." Ethan's smile widened, sending a chill down Judy's spine. "Oh, I had some business to attend to. Speaking of which, I have some exciting news. The board has called an emergency meeting for this afternoon." Judy felt her heart skip a beat. She hadn't heard anything about a board meeting. A board meeting? What for? Ethan's eyes glittered with malicious glee. "Why, to discuss the future of Harrington Tech Innovations, of course. Now that I'm the majority shareholder, there are going to be some changes." Judy struggled to keep her voice steady. "What kind of changes, Ethan?" Ethan casually examined his nails, his tone nonchalant. "Oh, restructuring, new leadership, that sort of thing. Don't worry, Mother. I'm sure we'll find a nice, quiet corner for you, maybe in HR." Judy felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. This was moving too fast. She needed more time. "Ethan, please, the company isn't just about profits. We have a responsibility to our employees, our customers." Ethan cut her off with a harsh laugh. "Responsibility, please. The only responsibility a company has is to make money for its shareholders. And as the majority shareholder, that means me." He stood up, straightening his expensive suit. "The meeting is at 2 p.m. Don't be late." As Ethan left, Judy sank into a chair, her mind reeling. She had to do something, but what? The hours leading up to the board meeting passed in a blur. Judy reached out to every ally she had, calling in favors and pleading for support. But Ethan had been thorough. Many board members were already in his pocket, swayed by promises of increased profits and personal gain. As Judy entered the boardroom, she felt like a stranger in the company she had built. Ethan sat at the head of the table, a place that had been hers for decades. The other board members avoided her gaze, their discomfort palpable. "Now that we're all here, let's begin. As you know, there have been some changes in the company's ownership structure. I believe it's time for Harrington Tech Innovations to move in a new direction." Judy listened in growing horror as Ethan outlined his plans. Massive layoffs, outsourcing to cut costs, canceling all ongoing philanthropic projects. Everything she had worked for, all the good they had done, was being dismantled before her eyes. When Ethan finally paused for questions, Judy seized her chance. "This is madness, Ethan. These changes will destroy everything we've built. Our employees trust us. Our customers rely on us. We can't just..." Ethan cut her off, his voice cold. "I believe you mean everything you've built, Mother. And clearly, you've become too emotionally attached to make rational business decisions. That's why, as my first act as CEO, I'm announcing your immediate retirement." The room fell silent. Judy felt as if she had been physically struck. "You can't do this, Ethan. I founded this company. I built it from nothing." Ethan's smile was triumphant. "I think you'll find I can, all in favor of accepting Judith Harrington's retirement, effective immediately." Hands rose around the table, some hesitant, others eager. Judy watched in disbelief as her life's work was taken from her in a matter of moments. Motion carried. "Thank you for your years of service, Mother. Security will escort you out." As two burly security guards approached, Judy felt a surge of defiance. She stood tall, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "You may have won this battle, Ethan, but remember this: I built this company once. I can do it again, and this time, I'll make sure you never get your hands on it." With that, she turned and walked out, her head held high. But as the boardroom door closed behind her, Judy allowed herself a moment of despair. She had lost everything: her company, her legacy. and now, it seemed, her son. But as she thought of Cheyenne and Abigail, she knew she couldn't give up. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of her fight back. As Judy left the Harrington Tech Innovations building for what she thought might be the last time, a steely determination settled over her. She had been knocked down, but she was far from out. Years of building a successful company had taught her resilience, and she wasn't about to forget those lessons now. Her first stop was her lawyer's office. Martin Green had been her trusted legal advisor for decades, and if anyone could help her navigate this mess, it was him. Martin's eyes widened as Judy recounted the events of the past few weeks. "My God, Judy, this is unbelievable. Ethan's actions, they're not just unethical, they're potentially illegal." Judy nodded grimly. "I know, but Martin, it's not just about the company anymore. Ethan's behavior towards Cheyenne, his threats about Abigail, I'm worried he's become dangerous." Martin's expression turned serious. "You're right to be concerned, Judy. We need to move carefully here. Ethan's got a lot of power right now, but he's also made himself vulnerable. We just need to find the right pressure points." For the next few hours, Judy and Martin pored over documents, piecing together a strategy. By the time Judy left the office, she had the beginnings of a plan. Her next stop was a small, nondescript cafe on the outskirts of town. As she entered, she spotted a familiar face in a corner booth. "Thank you for meeting me, Thomas." Thomas Brown, Tiffany's ex-boyfriend and victim of her fraud, looked up with a mix of curiosity and wariness. "Mrs. Harrington, I have to admit, I was surprised to get your call." Judy slid into the booth across from him. "I understand, and please, call me Judy. I know we've never met under the best circumstances, but I'm hoping we can help each other now." As Judy laid out her situation, leaving out the more personal details about Cheyenne, she saw Thomas's expression change from wary to sympathetic to determined. "So let me get this straight. Your son and Tiffany have essentially staged a hostile takeover of your company. And you think they might be planning more fraud?" Judy nodded. "That's the gist of it, Thomas. I know Tiffany hurt you badly. But if you're willing to come forward with your story, it could help us build a case against them." Thomas was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. "It won't be easy, reliving all of that. But if it means stopping them from hurting anyone else, I'll do it." Judy reached across the table, squeezing Thomas's hand gratefully. "Thank you, Thomas. You have no idea how much this means." As she left the cafe, Judy felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. She had allies now, and a plan was forming. But she knew the hardest part was yet to come. The next day, Judy found herself standing outside the offices of the Securities and Exchange Commission. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to do. This would be the point of no return. Inside, she was greeted by a stern-faced agent who introduced himself as John Carter. "Mrs. Harrington, I understand you have some information for us regarding potential securities fraud." Judy nodded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Yes, I do. It involves Harrington Tech Innovations, the company I founded." For the next 2 hours, Judy laid out everything she knew. The suspicious transfers, the sudden changes in company policy, Ethan's erratic behavior. She even revealed her own past indiscretions, knowing that full transparency was crucial now. Agent Carter listened intently, his expression unreadable. "This is serious, Mrs. Harrington. You understand that by coming forward, you're potentially implicating yourself as well." Judy met his gaze unflinchingly. "I do, and I'm prepared to face whatever consequences come my way. But this is bigger than me now. It's about protecting the company, its employees, and my family." As she left the SEC offices, Judy felt as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had taken the first step towards reclaiming her life and her legacy. But she knew Ethan wouldn't go down without a fight, and she had to be prepared for whatever he might do next. Over the next few days, Judy worked tirelessly, reaching out to old contacts and gathering evidence. She set up secure lines of communication with Martin Thomas and Agent Carter, knowing that secrecy was crucial at this stage. She also made a point of visiting Cheyenne regularly, under the guise of casual lunch dates. During these meetings, she gently encouraged Cheyenne to document any further inappropriate behavior from Ethan. But Judy, what if he finds out? What if he hurts Abigail? Judy's heart ached at the fear in Cheyenne's voice. "I promise you, Cheyenne, I won't let that happen. We're going to stop him, but we need to be smart about it. Can you trust me?" Cheyenne nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. As the pieces of her plan fell into place, Judy knew she needed one more crucial ally. She arranged to meet Abigail at a local park, away from Ethan's prying eyes. When Abigail arrived, Judy was struck by how much older her granddaughter looked. The strain of the past few weeks had clearly taken its toll. "Abigail, sweetheart, thank you for meeting me." "Grandma, what's going on? Dad's been acting so strange lately, and he keeps saying you don't want to see me anymore." Judy's heart broke at the confusion and hurt in Abigail's voice. "Oh, honey, that's not true at all. Your father, he's going through some things right now. But I need you to know that I love you, and I will always be here for you." As gently as she could, Judy explained the situation to Abigail, careful not to overwhelm her with too many details. "Abigail, I know this is a lot to take in, but I need your help. Can you be brave for me?" Abigail straightened her shoulders, a determined look coming into her eyes. "What do you need me to do, Grandma?" Judy squeezed her granddaughter's hand, feeling a surge of pride. "I need you to be my eyes and ears, sweetheart. If you see or hear anything unusual at home, anything that makes you uncomfortable, I want you to let me know. Can you do that?" Abigail nodded solemnly. "I can do that, Grandma. I want to help." As Judy hugged Abigail goodbye, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for her family, for the future. Back at her home, Judy sat at her desk, surrounded by documents and notes. She was preparing for the final phase of her plan when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know what you're doing. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th Street at midnight if you want to save your precious company and family. Come alone." Judy's heart raced as she read the message. Was it a trap, or could this be the break she'd been waiting for? After a moment's hesitation, she made her decision. She had come too far to back down now. As the clock struck midnight, Judy pulled up to the abandoned warehouse. The area was deserted, the only sound the distant hum of traffic. She took a deep breath, checked that her phone was recording, and stepped out of the car. A figure emerged from the shadows, and Judy's eyes widened in surprise. "Tiffany, what are you doing here?" Tiffany stepped into the light, her usual polished appearance disheveled, her eyes wild. "I had to warn you, Judy, Ethan. He's gone too far. He's planning something terrible." Judy's mind raced. Could this be genuine, or was it another of Ethan's tricks? "Why should I believe you, Tiffany? You've been part of this from the beginning." Tiffany's laugh was bitter, tinged with hysteria. "Oh, I was. I thought I was so clever, latching onto Ethan, helping him take control. But now I realize I'm just as expendable as anyone else to him." As Tiffany poured out her story, Judy listened with growing horror. The depth of Ethan's plans, the extent of his ruthlessness, it was worse than she had imagined. "Tiffany, we need to stop him, but I can't do it alone. Will you help me?" For a long moment, Tiffany was silent. Then, slowly, she nodded. Yes, I'll help you, but Judy, be careful. Ethan's dangerous, more dangerous than you know." As Judy drove home, her mind was whirling with the new information. She had gained an unexpected ally, but she had also learned that the stakes were higher than ever. The final confrontation was coming, and Judy knew she had to be ready for anything. Armed with the new information from Tiffany and her growing coalition of allies, Judy knew it was time to accelerate her plans. She spent the next few days in a whirlwind of activity, coordinating with Martin, Agent Carter, and her other supporters. Early one morning, Judy received an urgent call from Abigail. "Grandma, something's happening. Dad's in his office, yelling at someone on the phone. He keeps talking about moving assets and covering tracks. I think he's planning to leave the country." Judy's heart raced. This was it, the moment she had been preparing for. "Thank you, sweetheart. You've been so brave. Now, I need you to do one more thing for me. Can you get out of the house safely?" "Yes, I think so. Dad's too busy to notice." "Good. Go to Mrs. Peterson next door. Tell her I sent you and to call the number I gave her. Can you do that?" "I can, Grandma. Be careful." As soon as she hung up, Judy sprang into action. She sent a series of prearranged messages to Martin, Agent Carter, and Thomas. It was time to put their plan into motion. Within an hour, Judy found herself outside the Harrington Tech Innovations building, flanked by Agent Carter and a team of SEC agents. Martin stood nearby, legal documents in hand. "Are you ready for this, Mrs. Harrington?" Judy took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "I've been ready for this my entire life, Agent Carter. Let's go." As they entered the building, heads turned and whispers erupted. Judy held her head high, striding purposefully towards Ethan's office, her old office. They found Ethan in a frenzy, shoving documents into a briefcase. He froze when he saw the group enter, his face paling. "Mother, what is the meaning of this? Who are these people?" Judy's voice was steady, filled with a quiet strength. "It's over, Ethan. We know everything. The fraud, the embezzlement, the plans to flee the country. It's time to face the consequences of your actions." Ethan's shock quickly morphed into anger. He lunged for his desk, but Agent Carter was faster, blocking his path. "Ethan Harrington, you're under arrest for securities fraud, embezzlement, and attempted flight to avoid prosecution. You have the right to remain silent." As the agents handcuffed Ethan, Judy felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a grim sense of justice. "You'll regret this, Mother. I'll destroy you, I swear it." Judy met her son's gaze, her heart heavy but her resolve unshaken. "No, Ethan, you've already tried to destroy me and you failed. Now, it's time to rebuild what you've broken." As Ethan was led away, Martin approached Judy with a stack of documents. "We've got everything in order, Judy. With Ethan's arrest and the evidence we've gathered, we can reverse the fraudulent transfer of shares. The company will be back in your control by the end of the day." Judy nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Thank you, Martin, but we're not done yet. There's still so much to set right." Over the next few hours, Judy moved through the company like a whirlwind. She called an emergency board meeting, presenting the evidence of Ethan's crimes and outlining her plan to stabilize the company. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been through a crisis, but Harrington Tech Innovations is still strong. Our employees, our customers, and our community are counting on us. We will not let them down." One by one, the board members pledged their support. Many apologized for their earlier actions, but Judy waved away their apologies. "We all made mistakes. What matters now is how we move forward." As the day wore on, Judy turned her attention to the human cost of Ethan's actions. She reversed the layoffs, reinstated the philanthropic projects, and set up a task force to review and improve company ethics. By nightfall, exhausted but exhilarated, Judy finally allowed herself to return home. She found Abigail waiting for her, along with Cheyenne. "Grandma, is it true? Is Dad really gone?" Judy gathered both girls into a hug, her heart aching for the pain they had endured. "Yes, sweetheart, your father has done some very bad things, and he's going to have to answer for them. But I want you both to know that you're safe now, and you're loved." "What's going to happen to us, Judy?" Judy smiled warmly at the young woman who had shown such courage. "Well, that's up to you. But if you'd like, there's plenty of room here. You're both welcome to stay as long as you need." As the girls hugged her tightly, Judy felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready for the challenge. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Judy worked tirelessly to stabilize the company, repair relationships with clients and partners, and cooperate with the ongoing investigation into Ethan's crimes. She also made time for regular therapy sessions with Abigail and Cheyenne, helping them process the trauma they had experienced. One evening, as Judy was reviewing some documents in her home office, she received an unexpected visitor. Tiffany stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. "Judy, can we talk?" Judy gestured for her to enter, her expression cautious but not unkind. "Of course, Tiffany, what can I do for you?" Tiffany took a deep breath, twisting her hands nervously. "I wanted to apologize for everything. I know it doesn't make up for what I did, but I want you to know that I'm truly sorry." Judy studied the younger woman for a long moment. "Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate your apology, but I think there are others who deserve to hear it more than I do." Tiffany nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "You're right. I'm going to turn myself in, tell the authorities everything I know, and I want to make things right with Thomas, if he'll let me." Judy reached out, squeezing Tiffany's hand. "That's a brave decision, Tiffany. It won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do." As Tiffany left, Judy felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a step towards healing. The following day, Judy called a company-wide meeting. As she stood before her employees, she felt a surge of pride and determination. "I know the past few weeks have been difficult and confusing for all of you. But I stand here today to reaffirm our commitment to this company and to each of you. Harrington Tech Innovations was built on innovation, integrity, and respect for our employees and our community. Those values will continue to guide us as we move forward." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces before her. "We have a lot of work ahead of us. We need to regain trust, to innovate, to grow. But I believe in this company, and I believe in all of you. Together, we can rebuild and become stronger than ever." The room erupted in applause, and Judy felt a lump form in her throat. This was what she had fought for, not just the company, but the people who made it great. As the weeks turned into months, Judy saw her efforts begin to bear fruit. The company's stock price stabilized and then began to climb. New contracts were signed, innovative projects were launched, and a renewed sense of purpose pervaded the company. But perhaps the most significant change was in Judy herself. The trials she had faced had not broken her, but forged her into something stronger. She was no longer just a successful businesswoman, but a mentor, a protector, and a force for positive change. One evening, as Judy sat on her porch watching the sunset, Abigail and Cheyenne joined her. "Grandma, I've been thinking, I want to study business in college. I want to learn how to run a company the right way, like you do. And I've decided to major in social work. After everything we've been through, I want to help other families who are struggling." Judy felt her heart swell with pride and love. "I think those are wonderful choices, girls, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." As they sat together, watching the sky turn from gold to purple, Judy realized that this moment of peace, of family, of hope for the future, this was what true success looked like. She had lost much, but she had gained so much more, and she was ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. As the dust began to settle from the tumultuous events of the past few months, Judy found herself facing a new set of challenges. The company was stabilizing, but there was still much work to be done to fully restore its reputation and ensure its long-term success. One morning, as Judy was preparing for a crucial board meeting, she received an unexpected call from Agent Carter. "Mrs. Harrington, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. We've uncovered some new information regarding your son's case that I think you should be aware of." Judy felt her heart rate quicken. "What kind of information, Agent Carter?" "It appears that Ethan wasn't working alone. We found evidence of a larger conspiracy involving several high-ranking executives from competing tech firms. They were planning to carve up Harrington Tech Innovations and sell off its most valuable assets." Judy's mind raced with the implications of this revelation. "I see. What does this mean for the case against Ethan?" "It complicates things. Ethan's lawyers are pushing for a plea deal in exchange for his cooperation in bringing down the bigger fish. They're also trying to paint him as a victim of manipulation by these other executives." Judy took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Thank you for letting me know, Agent Carter. I appreciate your transparency in this matter." After ending the call, Judy sat in silence for a few moments, processing the new information. Then, with renewed determination, she picked up her phone and dialed Martin's number. "Martin, we need to talk. There's been a new development in Ethan's case, and I think we need to adjust our strategy." Over the next few hours, Judy and Martin pored over the new information, strategizing on how to proceed. They knew that the revelation of a larger conspiracy could potentially shift public opinion and complicate the legal proceedings. "Judy, we need to get ahead of this. If Ethan's lawyers spin this right, they could garner sympathy for him and potentially damage the company's reputation further." Judy nodded, her expression resolute. "You're right, we need to control the narrative. Let's call a press conference for tomorrow morning. It's time we shed some light on this situation." The next day, Judy stood before a sea of reporters, cameras flashing as she approached the podium. She took a moment to survey the crowd, then began to speak. "Good morning, I've called this press conference to address recent developments in the ongoing investigation into fraudulent activities at Harrington Tech Innovations. New evidence has come to light suggesting a broader conspiracy involving executives from other tech firms." She paused, allowing the murmur of surprise to ripple through the crowd before continuing. "I want to be clear. While this new information provides context for some of the events that transpired, it does not excuse the actions taken by those involved. Harrington Tech Innovations was founded on principles of innovation, integrity, and ethical business practices. Any deviation from these principles, regardless of the circumstances, is unacceptable." A reporter raised his hand. "Mrs. Harrington, how do you respond to suggestions that your son was manipulated by these other executives?" Judy met the reporter's gaze steadily. "While the full extent of this conspiracy is still being uncovered, I believe that we are all ultimately responsible for our own actions. My son made choices that betrayed the trust of this company, its employees, and its shareholders. Those choices have consequences, regardless of any external influences." Another reporter chimed in. "What steps is Harrington Tech Innovations taking to prevent something like this from happening again?" "Excellent question. We are implementing a series of robust checks and balances within our corporate structure. This includes the formation of an independent ethics committee, enhanced whistleblower protections, and mandatory ethics training for all employees, particularly those in leadership positions. We are committed to not just rebuilding, but to becoming a model of corporate integrity in the tech industry." As the press conference concluded, Judy felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. She had taken a risk in addressing the situation so openly, but she believed it was the right thing to do. Over the next few weeks, Judy's bold approach seemed to pay off. The company's stock price, which had dipped slightly following the new revelations, began to climb again. Industry analysts praised Harrington Tech Innovations for its transparency and proactive measures, However, Judy knew that the battle was far from over. The legal proceedings against Ethan and the other executives involved in the conspiracy were ongoing, and each new development brought fresh challenges. One evening, as Judy was working late in her office, she received a visit from Cheyenne. "Judy, can I talk to you for a minute?" Judy looked up, smiling warmly. "Of course, dear, what's on your mind?" Cheyenne hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've been thinking about testifying against Ethan about what he tried to do to me." Judy felt a surge of pride and concern for the young woman. "Cheyenne, that's incredibly brave of you. But are you sure you're ready for that?" Cheyenne nodded, her expression determined. Judy stood and walked around her desk, enveloping Cheyenne in a hug. "I'm so proud of you, Cheyenne. And I want you to know that whatever you decide, I'll support you every step of the way." As Cheyenne left, Judy felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just fighting for her company anymore. She was fighting for her family, for justice, for a better future. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Judy divided her time between steering the company through its recovery, supporting Cheyenne and Abigail, and assisting with the ongoing legal proceedings. The trial of Ethan and his co-conspirators became a media sensation, with Judy's testimony serving as a pivotal moment. She spoke with clarity and conviction, laying out not just the facts of the case, but the human cost of the conspirators' actions. The actions of the defendants didn't just threaten the financial stability of a company, they jeopardized the livelihoods of thousands of employees, betrayed the trust of our shareholders, and undermined the very principles of fair competition that drive innovation in our industry. Her words resonated not just with the jury, but with the public at large. In the days following her testimony, Judy received an outpouring of support from employees, industry colleagues, and even strangers who had been moved by her story. As the trial neared its conclusion, Judy received a request she had been both expecting and dreading. Ethan wanted to see her. With mixed emotions, Judy agreed to meet her son in the presence of their lawyers. As she entered the meeting room and saw Ethan, looking pale and diminished in his prison jumpsuit, she felt a complex swirl of emotions: anger, sadness, and a persistent, aching love that she couldn't quite extinguish. "Mom, I don't know where to begin." Judy sat down across from him, her expression neutral. "Why don't you start with why you wanted to see me, Ethan?" Ethan seemed to deflate under her gaze. "I wanted to apologize. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry for everything." Judy studied her son's face, searching for signs of the boy she had raised. "I appreciate your apology, Ethan, but you're right, it doesn't change what you've done. Actions have consequences, and you're facing those consequences now." Ethan nodded, his eyes filling with tears. "I know, I hope that someday you might be able to forgive me." Judy felt her own eyes welling up. "Forgiveness is a journey, Ethan. It's not something I can promise you right now. But I can promise you this: I'll always be your mother, and I'll always love you, even when I don't like you very much." As she left the meeting, Judy felt as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She hadn't forgiven Ethan, not yet, but she had taken the first step on that long and difficult path. The trial concluded with Ethan and his co-conspirators being found guilty on multiple charges. As the sentences were read out, Judy felt a complex mix of relief, vindication, and sadness. In the aftermath of the trial, Judy threw herself into the work of rebuilding, not just her company, but her family. She focused on supporting Cheyenne and Abigail, encouraging their dreams and helping them heal from the trauma they had experienced. Months turned into years, and slowly but surely, things began to change. Harrington Tech Innovations not only recovered but thrived, becoming known as a leader in ethical business practices in the tech industry. Judy's experiences led her to become a sought-after speaker on corporate ethics and female leadership. Cheyenne graduated with honors and began her career in social work, specializing in helping families affected by white-collar crime. Abigail, inspired by her grandmother's example, was studying business with a focus on corporate social responsibility. As for Judy herself, she found a new balance in her life. She remained involved with the company but began to step back from day-to-day operations, grooming a new generation of leaders to take the reins. One sunny afternoon, as Judy sat on her porch enjoying a rare moment of quiet, she reflected on the journey of the past few years. She had faced betrayal, loss, and challenges she never could have imagined. But she had also discovered strength she didn't know she possessed, forged new bonds, and found a renewed sense of purpose. As she watched the sun setting over the garden where she, Cheyenne, and Abigail had planted flowers together, Judy smiled to herself. The path had been difficult, but it had led her here to a place of peace, of purpose, and of hope for the future. And that, she realized, was the greatest victory of all. As the warm summer breeze rustled through the trees, Judy sat on the porch of her family home, a cup of tea in hand and a gentle smile on her face. The past 5 years had been a journey of redemption, healing, and growth, not just for her, but for her entire family. The sound of laughter drifted from inside the house, where Cheyenne and Abigail were preparing for a special dinner. Today marked the 5th anniversary of what they now called their new beginning, the day Judy had taken back control of her company and her life. Judy's eyes wandered to the framed photo on the side table. It was a recent picture of her with Cheyenne and Abigail, all 3 of them beaming at the camera. Beside it stood an award Judy had received last month for her work in corporate ethics and women's empowerment in the tech industry. As she reflected on the journey that had brought them here, Judy felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over her. The trials they had faced had not broken them, but had forged them into something stronger, more resilient. The screen door creaked open, and Abigail stepped out onto the porch. "Grandma, we're almost ready. But before we go in, Cheyenne and I have something we want to give you." Curious, Judy set down her tea and followed Abigail inside. In the living room, Cheyenne stood next to a large, covered object. "Judy, you've done so much for us. You fought for us, protected us, and showed us what true strength and integrity look like. We wanted to do something special to show our appreciation." With a flourish, Cheyenne pulled away the cover, revealing a beautiful painting. Judy gasped as she took in the details. The canvas depicted 3 women standing together, their faces turned towards a rising sun. Though stylized, the figures were unmistakably Judy, Cheyenne, and Abigail. "We commissioned it from a local artist. We call it Resilience." "Look closer, Judy." As Judy stepped forward, she noticed that the background of the painting was composed of tiny words and phrases, almost like a mosaic. Leaning in, she realized they were quotes, things she had said over the years that had inspired and guided Cheyenne and Abigail. "Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. The power to change your life lies in the smallest of choices you make every day." Tears welled up in Judy's eyes as she read the words, memories flooding back of the moment she had spoken them, often during their darkest times. "Girls, I don't know what to say, it's beautiful." Cheyenne and Abigail enveloped Judy in a tight hug. "You taught us what real strength looks like, Grandma. And you showed us that it's never too late to start over, to do the right thing." As they stood there, arms around each other, Judy felt a profound sense of peace and joy. The road had been hard, but it had led them here, to this moment of love, gratitude, and hope. "You know, when I was fighting to save the company, to right the wrongs that had been done, I thought I was doing it for the business, for the legacy. But I realize now that the true legacy isn't in the company at all. It's in you, in the strong, compassionate women you've become. You are my greatest achievement, my true legacy." The three of them stood in silence for a moment, the weight of Judy's words settling around them like a warm embrace. Then, from the kitchen, the timer dinged, breaking the spell. "Oh, the roast." They laughed, the solemnity of the moment giving way to the simple joy of family. As they moved to the dining room, the painting stood as a silent witness to their journey, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds of family. And Judy knew with absolute certainty that whatever challenges the future might hold, they would face them together, stronger than ever. In that moment, surrounded by the love of her granddaughters and the warmth of their shared home, Judy realized that this was her true happily ever after. Not a fairy tale ending, but something far more precious, a real, hard-won happiness, built on a foundation of love, integrity, and the courage to always stand up for what's right. 5 years had passed since Ethan's conviction, and the once proud executive now found himself in a very different world. His days were spent in a medium-security prison, the monotony of his existence a far cry from the lavish lifestyle he had once enjoyed. Ethan sat alone in the prison library, leafing through a dog-eared business magazine. His eyes fell on an article about Harrington Tech Innovation's latest success, and he felt a familiar pang of bitterness and regret. "Harrington, you've got a visitor." Ethan looked up, surprised. Visitors were rare these days. As he was led to the visitation area, he wondered who it could be. His heart sank when he saw Tiffany on the other side of the glass. "Hello, Ethan. It's been a while." "Tiffany, what are you doing here?" Tiffany's face was lined with weariness, but there was a clarity in her eyes that Ethan didn't remember. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, Ethan. A lot of soul-searching. I'm here because, well, I'm making amends. Part of my recovery." Ethan scoffed. "Recovery? Don't tell me you've gone all 12-step on me." "Mock it if you want, but it's helped me. I'm trying to put my life back together, Ethan. I thought you might want to do the same." Ethan's laugh was bitter. "Put my life back together? Look around you, Tiffany. This is my life now, thanks to you and my dear mother." Tiffany shook her head sadly. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't anyone's fault but your own, Ethan. You made your choices." As Tiffany spoke about her journey to recovery, her new job at a nonprofit, Ethan felt the weight of his own stagnation. He had spent the last 5 years nursing his resentment, blaming everyone but himself for his downfall. "I've got to go, but Ethan, it's not too late. You can still turn things around, find some peace if you want to." As Tiffany left, Ethan remained seated, staring at his reflection in the glass. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to truly see what he had become. The days that followed were difficult. Ethan found himself replaying moments from his past, seeing them with new eyes. The people he had hurt, the trust he had betrayed, it all came crashing down on him. One night, unable to sleep, Ethan penned a letter to his mother. It was clumsy, filled with half-formed apologies and stumbling attempts at explanation. He never sent it, but the act of writing it was a first small step towards genuine introspection. Months passed. Ethan began to participate in the prison's rehabilitation programs, not with enthusiasm, but with a grim determination. He started to mentor younger inmates, warning them about the pitfalls of greed and the importance of integrity. On a crisp autumn day, Ethan received news that his appeal for early release had been denied. In the past, this would have sent him into a spiral of rage and self-pity. But now, he accepted the news with a quiet resignation. That night, as Ethan lay on his bunk, he realized something. He was not happy, far from it. His life was a shadow of what it once was, and the road ahead was long and difficult. But for the first time in years, he felt something like peace. He had lost everything, but in that loss, he had finally found the beginnings of redemption. Ethan closed his eyes, thinking of the long journey still ahead. It would be hard, often thankless work, but it was, he realized, the only way forward. In the quiet of his cell, Ethan Harrington made a promise to himself to face each day with honesty, to atone for his mistakes, and to strive always to be better than he had been. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was perhaps the beginning of something new. 10 years after the tumultuous events that had reshaped her life, Judy Harrington stood at the podium of a grand auditorium, a Lifetime Achievement Award in her hands. The audience, filled with industry leaders, young entrepreneurs, and her own family, listened intently as she spoke. Life often takes us on unexpected journeys. 10 years ago, I faced the greatest challenge of my life. But that challenge became an opportunity to rebuild, to grow, and to redefine what success truly means. She glanced at the front row, where Cheyenne and Abigail sat, beaming with pride. Cheyenne, now a respected social worker, had just published a book on helping families recover from white-collar crime. Abigail, following in her grandmother's footsteps, had recently been promoted to a leadership position at Harrington Tech Innovations. True success isn't measured in dollars or titles. It's measured in the lives we touch, the positive change we create, and the legacy of integrity we leave behind. After the ceremony, Judy returned home to a surprise celebration organized by her granddaughters. The house was filled with laughter, love, and the warm glow of family. As the evening wound down, Judy found a quiet moment on the porch. Looking out at the gardens Cheyenne, and Abigail had planted together years ago. It was now in full bloom, a riot of colors in the summer twilight. Abigail joined her, wrapping an arm around her grandmother's shoulders. "You did it, Grandma. You turned our darkest moment into something beautiful." Judy smiled, her heart full. "We did it, sweetheart, together." As they stood there, watching the sun set on another day, Judy felt a profound sense of contentment. She had faced adversity, fought for what was right, and come out stronger. But more than that, she had nurtured a legacy of love, integrity, and resilience that would live on through Cheyenne and Abigail. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of family and the knowledge of a life well lived, Judy Harrington knew that she had found her true happily ever after.